Hey everyone, I am going to read a little story to you about another chance, right? Let's do it. Hey, let's plop you up so you can see all the pictures, bro. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Another chance. Story by J. Hymas. Or Hymas? Am I saying it? And drawings by Annabelle Potvin. So, introduction, okay? People who struggle with substance use disorder face many barriers to recovery. Substance use disorder is the technical term for addiction, or conditions in which people use drugs, alcohol, opiates, methamphetamine, etc., in ways that cause significant health and or social problems. One major barrier to recovery is stigma. True. Stigma is when someone holds a negative belief about a group or when a group is discriminated against because of a certain characteristic. There are many negative beliefs in our society about people with substance use disorders. Because of stigma, people who have substance use disorders may be excluded from resources like social services, employment, and housing. Some people hide their substance use and don't seek help for fear that their friends and family members will turn away from them. Stigma can even impact medical care, since some people are reluctant to tell their doctors about their substance use for fear that their doctors will label them as a difficult patient and treat them poorly. Stigma can also impact the types of resources that are available to help people with substance use disorders. Many individuals hold strong ideas about what kinds of help are acceptable, such as immediate abstinence from substances, going cold turkey, or attending a 12-step program. But often these ideas do not match the scientific evidence of what works to prevent spreading diseases like HIV, reduce the risk of overdose death, and engage people in services. Effective forms of help include access to sterile syringes to prevent disease transmission, overdose reversal medication, and advice on how to use drugs more safely. There are medications that help people with substance use disorders to manage their withdrawal symptoms and help them stop using illicit drugs. These strategies work. They keep people alive and often help people move towards recovery. These strategies are part of harm reduction, which is an approach to reducing the dangers associated with drug use. By keeping people as safe and healthy as possible, regardless of whether they are ready to stop using drugs. But harm reduction strategies like these are also stigmatized, making it difficult to implement these programs. For example, in some areas of the U.S., syringe distribution is outlawed by local governments. And in many regions, treatment providers discourage or even ban the use of effective medication treatment for substance use disorders because they believe it replaces one drug for another. This kind of stigma not only shames people for drug use, but also shames the use of services that could help them to avoid disease and death. One way to reduce stigma is to make connections with people who have been stigmatized. Lived experience, right? Learning about others' personal experiences restores their humanity and helps to decrease prejudice, harmful assumptions, and discriminatory actions. Comics are one way to provide this connection. Research has shown that comics facilitate understanding and empathy through their simplified images, which require readers to use their imaginations and place themselves in the story. The stories told by the comics in these series are based on oral histories from Utah State University's digital collection, informing the national narrative, Stories of Utah's Opiate Crisis. This collection contains the personal experiences of Utahns who have experienced substance use disorder and contain many sensitive topics that are not suitable for some audiences. For more information and resources, please visit the Office of Health Equity and Community Engagement. Website is at https://usu.edu/health-wellness/health-equity/index. All right, here we go. My name is Jay. and this is my story. I grew up in Logan, Utah, with my parents and 3 sisters. We loved each other very much, but there were a lot of hard times. In our family tree, there's a long line of addiction. The chains ran thick. My parents lacked their own support in lots of ways. When they were hurting, they often hurt me. I used to call it my upside-down world. There was a lot of chaos. My parents fought all the time. Dad's friends would fist fight in the living room. There was a lot of substance use. Since my parents used substances, I was around it a lot. It seemed really normal to me. I was 12 when I smoked pot for the first time with my dad. When I was 13, my parents got divorced and my upside-down world turned upside down. I was really overwhelmed by the chaos at home. I decided to take some of my parents' meth and give it a try. I started using it pretty often. When I was 14, I scratched my eye in pottery class. Ouch, what the hell? That looks bad, Jay. I think it's fine. You should get it checked just in case. The doctor wrote a prescription for the pain. There's a bad scratch. Here's a prescription for Lortab. I picked up my prescription that morning. Yes, that's right. Picking up an RX for Lortab? Correct. By the end of the day, all the pills were gone, and I wanted more. I loved the feeling. I felt warm and safe, like I was cushioned from anything that might hurt. My substance use kept snowballing. At one point, my dad started going to Alcoholics Anonymous to get help with his substance use. Welcome, everyone. I went with him as family support. They thought I was helping out making coffee for the meetings, but really, I was drunk and high most of the time. I was learning to keep things behind closed doors, learning to live a hidden life. Eventually, I got into some legal trouble. I faced a lot of charges. I felt so alone. It was traumatizing. My parents couldn't give me the guidance and support I needed. The youth correctional system took me into custody. I went to live with foster families. The families were kind, but I felt out of place. Oh, I forgot to show you the footage. Because of my legal situation, I also had to do programs to help with my mental health and substance use. I remember feeling pretty confused about the whole process. I did group therapy at a day treatment. I did wilderness therapy. We hiked about 10 miles each day. I became the leader of the crew, always helping people who needed an extra hand. Looking back, I can see some of the seeds of recovery that those programs planted. In wilderness therapy, I learned that I love to support people. In group therapy, a counselor taught us how trauma and addiction pass through generations. It really stuck with me. I wasn't alone. Many people get caught in those cycles. But damn, was I caught. I kept finding myself back in legal trouble. When I was 18, I applied for drug court, a program that can help people get treatment instead of jail time. They turned me down. I was just a kid, and it felt like the world had already branded me a lost cause. That pain turned to anger, which turned into more drug use. It kept spiraling. My legal situation got worse. Since I was over 18, I went to jail. When I got out, I didn't have enough money for rent, and I didn't want to ask for help. I couldn't make ends meet. I wound up living on the street. I lived in a 1976 Fleetwood motorhome. It was constant work. I never had enough clean water. I was always hauling water for showers and cooking. I would run out of gas in the winter and have no heat. I could never rest. I was trying so hard to keep it all hidden, but I wished so desperately that someone would see me. I kept using meth and other drugs to cope with the pain. For the next few years, I went between jail and the streets. At one point, I went to a recovery center to get some support. Someone gave me heroin for the first time. For the next few years, it consumed my life. All my time, energy, everything. I was always driving to Salt Lake to get more. I felt sick all the time. It started to really scare me. I decided to stop using heroin. I was determined to stop. I went through the withdrawals alone. I didn't tell anyone. Coming off heroin is really painful. I got through it, but I kept using meth. Meth had a really strong pull. It gave me joy, excitement, like I was winning. I could forget about the little kid inside who felt lost, hopeless, stigma, rejection, shame, judgment. When I was high, I didn't feel everything that weighed me down. I tried to get help a few more times, but my insurance didn't cover a lot of the treatment, and I couldn't afford to pay out of pocket. Navigating the healthcare system was incredibly hard. I was exhausted. For years, jail was the only place I stopped using drugs completely. I felt like I was at the bottom of a hole, and no one could see how deep I had gone. With all the stigma and judgment, I didn't feel safe asking for help. But every now and then, in small moments, a quiet voice would ask, "Can I change?" The questions grew. Who would I be? Who would be there? Is it possible? What would I do? It was like holding a flame that could go out at any moment. Other voices inside and outside of me tried to blow it all out. Why do you deserve better? Addicts don't change. You're not worth it. But I kept wondering what it could mean to choose life. I could be with my family. I could stop running. One day I met someone who understood what I was going through, who saw me as more than my past, more than my addiction, as a whole person. I didn't have to hide all the time. I felt that little flame of change get bigger. We were facing a big mountain, but we weren't alone in the climb. With love and support, I kept taking steps to rebuild my life. It wasn't easy. Stopping drugs didn't mean it was all sunshine and rainbows. Addiction had touched everything. I had to heal my relationships with my family. My legal record made it hard to find housing. It was hard to get my finances together. I struggled to get hired anywhere. The stigma attached to my past was like a dark cloud that followed me. During those hard times, it helped so much to have support from my loved ones. We kept applying for housing. We pulled up to see this place. My mind was racing, but I held on to faith that things could change. I met with the owner. I was so scared we didn't have a shot. But the next day the owner called with good news. "Listen, I'm going to give you a chance." It was an unmatched feeling. I felt seen as someone who lives, cares, breathes, same as anyone else. I could start closing the door on some of the myths I had about myself. I had more room to breathe. I got hired at an HVAC company. It was hard physical work, and I loved it. I woke up every morning before my alarm, excited for the day to begin. I drove to work each day, passing the same people, the same trees, and then it hit me. I had a routine. I was part of something. I was part of the world again. It really helped that I could be honest with my boss about being in recovery, and he still trusted me. He really valued my work and cared about me as a person. I didn't need grandiose praise. It was about awareness, trust, and love. Being valued and accepted helped me rebuild my sense of worthiness and belonging. I can look people in the eyes and feel comfortable in my own skin. I started leading recovery groups, helping others help me stay centered in my own recovery. I got a job doing recovery outreach or community outreach with the recovery center. It felt so good and so right to help people and make them feel loved, no matter their situation. One day I found out the recovery center needed a new owner. It seemed like a crazy idea. There was a lot to consider, but we decided to take a leap of faith. I became the CEO of Clear Recovery Center. Today in my work, I give people love and support every day. Our projects give joy and hope to our community. I'm grateful for the chance to forge a path through the unknown. I hope my story will give hope and love to anyone who needs it. You are not alone, and you are worthy. You deserve kindness, non-judgment, compassion. You deserve another chance. So I'm going to leave off with one of these questions on here, okay? What kinds of trauma did Jay experience growing up? How did these experiences shape his struggles as an adult? Think about that one, right? And how does that make you feel? Do you relate? Do you understand? Do you have a family member that's going through similar? There are resources available. Just like how he said, he's over in Logan and he's got a treatment center. You know what's really cool? He helped my uncle. He saved my uncle's life. This one right here. Pretty cool, right? There's a lot of good ones like that. So just because you went to one treatment center and it didn't work out, hey, look at me. I did I don't even want to say it. Probably about, I think it was 9 or 7 or something. It was a lot. And then one stuck, right? And I heard something the other day, and it was really informative, right? They said I think it was 7 points, right? 7 points within the process of recovery, right? And as long as that person makes an impactful change at one of those points to connect the 7, then you still helped, or you still saw the light within those areas, right? Even if it didn't stick that first time, third time, maybe the fourth time, 7th, you eventually get it, right? Because addiction's hard. They're really, really hard. I've been there. And there's not a particular one-size-fits-all model for one particular person, right? Well, you know what I mean? You kind of pick and choose how your toolbox will fit, right? What will be inside of there? Do you like fitness? Do you like art? Do you like sport groups? Do you like this, that? There's so many different options available. And sky's the limit once you take that one step to change. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening, day, and what's tomorrow? Tomorrow's a cool day. Anyone heard of Martin Luther King Jr.? Be the change, right?